dx. Okay, so if f is continuous on the closed interval ab, then at some point c in ab, then at some point c in ab, f of c is equal to 1 over b minus a, the definite integral from a to b f of x dx. Okay, so this is called mean value theorem. Mean value theorem. So it is clear from the notion mean. So mean value theorem. Okay, so this theorem states that if function is continuous, then at least some point c must exist in ab such that this equality hold. What is this inequality? It means 1 over b minus a, the definite integral from a to b f of x dx. If we see, we have we studied in the last class, average value. So if we observe this, this is equal to average value of f of f. So if we put average value of f of f, average value of f is equal to f of c basically. Okay, so average value of f is equal to f of c. So here we have the following theorem, we have following example. Show that if f is continuous, on the closed interval ab, if f is continuous on the closed interval ab and a is not equal to b, it means the width of the interval, is not equal to 0. A is not equal to b mean the endpoints are not same and the width of the interval is not equal to 0. Okay, and if the definite integral from a to b f of x dx is equal to 0, if this integral is equal to 0, then f of x is equal to 0 at least once in ab. It means uh, if this integral is equal to 0, then at least uh, there is exist a point uh, in ab such that f of x is equal to 0. So we know that the average value of the function on ab is defined in this way. It means average av of f is equal to 1 over b minus a, the definite integral from a to b f of x dx. Okay, and it is given in the question, it is given in the example that the definite integral from a to b f of x dx, it is equal to 0. So that is why 0 zarab 1 over b minus a. You know b is some number, a is some number. If we product with this, so 1 over b minus a dot 0, it is equal to 0. It is equal to 0. So I again repeat, 1 over b minus a dot 0, it is equal to 0. So this shows that average value of f is equal to 0. If average value, so from here we say that there exists a point uh, there exists a point in ab such that f of x is equal to 0. We have to prove this, we have to prove the following, that f of x is equal to 0, f of x is equal to 0. Okay, so this true, it means f of x is equal to 0. After that we have fundamental theorem of calculus 1 and fundamental theorem of calculus 2. So here it is fundamental theorem of calculus 1. It is important and it is new thing from the previous, because if we see mean value theorem, we are using the average value and we are using the area in the average value, so all these things are related, but it is a little bit different from the previous, because if you see, one end point is constant, one end point, if you see, the lower limit of the integral is constant and upper limit of the integral is function. So previously, if you studied the definite integral, you have studied both endpoints, both it means lower limit of integration and upper limit of integration, both are equal to 0. Both are equal to 0. If lower limit of integration or upper limit of integration, both are equal to 0. So that is why it is different from the previous. It is different from the previous. So what this says, if f is continuous on the closed interval ab, that means if we have a function, it is continuous on the closed interval ab, then f capital of x, it is the integral of f of x or f of t from a to x. It is the integral f capital of x, it is the integral of f of t from a to x. It is like a definite integral. It means because here upper limit is x, lower limit is a, so it is definite integral. It means definite integral with the lower limit is constant and upper limit is some x. It is also continuous on the closed interval ab. It is also continuous on the closed interval ab. It is also continuous on the closed interval ab, and differentiable on the open interval ab, and it is differentiable on the open interval ab. Okay, and it is differentiable on the open interval ab, and its derivative is f of x. Okay, so how can we find this? Just I write here on the side. So in I want to explain this. So if we have here, see, if we have here d over dx. What is the meaning of this? Its meaning derivative with respect to x. Here we have d over dx. If we have here any constant, here we have any constant, a is any constant, and upper limit, if upper limit is x, if we have derivative d over dx and upper limit is constant, so f of t dt, and this function is continuous, this function must be continuous. If we have this condition, f of t dt, if we have this condition, f of t dt, if we have the following condition, f of t dt, for this case, it means if we have this limit is this x, okay, same, it means upper limit is just x, so the answer of this will be f of x. The answer of this will be f of x. It means whereas t we just replace x, whereas t we just replace, no need to solve the definite integral. Do you understand? It means no need to find the antiderivatives, no need to find the antiderivatives. So just whereas t we just put x, whereas t we just put x, and this is our answer. I again repeat, here if we have d over dx and the upper limit is x. Student, can you hear me? Student, can you hear me? Okay, okay, I am asking you, if we have here d divided by dx and upper limit is x, and upper limit is x, so you just have to whereas t in the function, you just have to put x. It is easy, it is very easy. So whereas here f in f of t, whereas t we just have to put x. Suppose if we have here if I ask you here d over dz, suppose dz, and we have the definite integral from a is any constant. Here we have the upper limit is z, upper limit is z. Here we have any function, any continuous function, any continuous function. If we do not know its derivative, antiderivative, no problem. We just we have to see this upper limit and this derivative. Okay, so just what will be the answer of this? F of z. The answer of this will be f of z. It means where it will become, yes, f of z. Where it is t, we just put z. No need to find the whole definite, no need to evaluate the definite integral, no need to find its derivative. So simple. So if upper limit is x and we are taking derivative with respect to x, simple, f of x. If it is u here, suppose it is u and upper limit is u, upper limit is u, what will be the answer now? If we are taking d over du and we are integral is from a to u, what will be the answer? F of u. Then it will becomes f of u. Yes, on the place of t we will put u. Okay, so this is basically, this is called fundamental theorem of calculus. So here you can see we we have here, what is the question? Use fundamental theorem, use fundamental theorem, this here you can see, to find dy over dx. Y is given, we have to find dy over dx. Using fundamental theorem, we have to find dy over dx. Using fundamental theorem, we have to find we have to find dy over dx. We have to find dy over dx. So here, if we have, you see, we take derivative on both sides with respect to x. So dy over dx is equal to, we take derivative on this side. Okay, so d over dx, here a is any number, it can be constant, any number 1 2 3. So what is the function? T power 3 plus 1. This is a polynomial function, it is continuous everywhere. Now here, what will be the answer of this? Here if you see, what is upper limit? Upper limit is x. What is derivative with respect to x? What is derivative? Derivative is with respect to x. So as we have here x, no, this is lower limit, a is lower limit. What is upper limit? Upper limit, this limit, it is equal to x. So what is derivative? It is also with respect to x. So what here, what is the function? What is the given function? T power 3 plus 1. T power 3 plus 1. So where is t? We will put x. So what will be the answer? Here we have f of t is equal to t power 3 plus 1. So we have function t power 3 plus 1. So where is t? We put x. So x power 3 plus 1. X power not 1. X power 3 plus 1. Yes. Abdul Hadi, it is x power 3 plus 1. X power 3 plus 1. This is the answer. Okay. I again repeat, if upper limit is only x, if upper limit is, if we have x square, then we will use other method. But if upper limit is x and we have here derivative is with respect to x, this, if we have d over dx, then we just take, where is t, we put x. Okay, okay, understand? Okay, now we move to the next second part of this. If we see, what is upper limit, what is lower limit? B part of question number, example number 2. What is B part? So here, what is upper limit? 5. What is lower limit? X. So can we change upper limit with the lower limit? Because for to use the fundamental theorem of calculus, we must need x as upper limit, but here we have x at the lower limit. So can we change upper to the lower and lower to the upper? Can we change? Student, Can we change upper limit to the lower? Did we studied order of integration? We have studied previously order of integration. So what is order of integration? Yes, minus will goes outside. Minus will goes outside. Yes. So they not minus 3. It means here whenever we change upper limit to the lower limit, so here negative sign will goes outside. Negative sign will goes outside. So 5 now become lower and x will become upper. Then this 3t sin t, it will be same. We just whenever we change the upper limit with the lower limit, then a negative sign will appear outside. Now here if we take this is equal to y, whenever we change whenever we take derivative with respect to x, so dy over dx, dy over dx equal to minus d minus, we have here minus, what is this, minus d over dx, here d over dx, and here we have definite integral from 5 to x. So here we have 3t, we have 3t sin t, we have here 3t sin t dt. Okay, so here now what is upper limit? Upper limit is x, lower limit is any constant, no problem. So what will be the answer of this? Where is t? We put x at the place where x, where we have t, we just put x. So on the place of t we just put x, on the place of t we just put x. So this is equal to minus, this is equal to minus 3x sin x, minus 3x sin x, minus 3x sin x. Okay, you got my point. This is minus 3x sin x, minus 3x sin x. Okay, this is the answer, minus 3x sin x. Okay, got my point? Understand, students? Should we go to the next? Okay, the next is, if we have on the place of x, if we have like function of x or x square or square root x, then we apply the fundamental theorem in this way. Like here in 3, if you see, what is this? In 3 we have here uh, definite integral from 1 to x square, from 1 to x square. Now upper limit is not x, it is x square. Okay, upper limit is not x, it is x square. So how can we solve this? How can we solve this? We solve in this way. First step, we take derivative on both sides. So we put here dy over dx, this is equal to dy over dx equal, we have here d over dx. Okay, here we have here 1 to x square, we have here 1 to x square cosine t, we have here cosine t dt. So we suppose that u is equal to x square. So we say that let u is equal to x square. We involve a new variable in the question. We involve a new variable. So we say u is equal to x square. Now what is derivative of x square? Student, what is derivative of x square? So if we have du over dx, it means we are taking derivative of u with respect to x. Then what will be the derivative of x square? X tarbia, yes, 2x. So it is equal to 2x. So we involve this. Now basically if we do not have the exact x, if we have x square, x square root x or the function of x, if it is function of x, then we use this method. It means we suppose u is equal to that function, u is equal to that function. It like here we are taking u is equal to x square, then we take derivative of u with respect to x, then we use the chain rule. So let's see, we solve this question here. You see this question we solve here. See, so what is this? Basically what we are doing, we are taking u is equal to x square, u is equal to x square. So what this will becomes, at x square we put u. Now we use a chain theorem. Now we use chain rules to find dy over dx. Basically dy over dx, it is equal to in this way, dy over du dot du over dx. Dy over dx, it is equal to dy over du. So what, how can we get this? Okay, so dy over dx, what is this? It is equal to d over du from 1 to u cosine t dt dot du over dx. So here we have the following. What is du over dx? It is 2x, as I asked you, finding the derivative of this. Now what is here? This is equal to 2x. But now I asked you before, if we have here u and the upper limit is also u, if we have d over du, upper limit is also u, what will be the answer? The answer of this integral, we have here d over du, integral from 1 to u cosine t dt. So this is equal to cosine u, this is equal to cosine u, this is equal to cosine u, whereas t we just put u, whereas t we just put u. So we have here, yes, cosine u. So what is u? U is equal to x square. Okay, so we have from this integral, from this we get here cosine u from here. It means by using the fundamental theorem of calculus 1. And what is du over dx? It is equal to, yes, it is equal to 2x. Now what is u? U is equal to x square, u is equal to x square. So we put the value of u, so that is why this will becomes cosine x square dot 2x, cosine x square dot 2x. So what this will becomes, 2x cosine x square. This is the answer, 2x cosine x square, 2x cosine x square. This is the answer. I again repeat, this will become 2x cosine x square, 2x cosine x square. So next is question number 4. Question number 4 of the this fundamental theorem of calculus 1. So here if we see, we had what is upper limit? Upper limit is 4 and lower limit is 1 plus 3x square. So what we use? We use order of integration. What is order of integration? We change lower limit with the upper limit with the lower limit. We change upper limit with the lower limit and lower limit with the upper limit. What will happen if we change? If we change lower limit with the upper limit, negative sign, yes, negative sign will appear. So you can see here a negative sign appear whenever we change lower limit with the upper limit, a negative sign appear. So this negative sign is to change upper limit to the lower limit and lower limit to the upper limit. Then negative sign, whenever we take derivative, it will apply inside and negative will goes outside. So now here you can see what is this? We have here x, here we have 1 plus 3x square. So we take here u is equal to 1 plus 3x square. 1 plus 3x square. We take here u is equal to 1 plus 3x square. So before this, it will become the following: minus outside, no problem, it is already mojud. So d over du, here it will becomes 1, sorry, 4 u here u, here 1 plus 2 plus t, 1 plus 2 plus t, this is dt, this is dt. Okay, we have now after that we are here zarab, here du over du over dx. So what is du over dx? What is derivative of here? What is derivative of u? If u is equal to 1 plus 3x square, student, if u is equal to 1 plus 3x square, 1 plus 3x square, what will be the derivative of 1 plus 3x square? Derivative of 1, it is equal to 0, plus derivative of 3x square, 3 is constant, derivative of x square 2x. So that is why it is equal to 6x. It is equal to 6x. So we can say that this part du over dx, it is equal to 6, and yes, 6x, it is equal to 6x. And what is the result of this integral? Here we have here u, upper limit is also u. So where is t? We just put u. Where is t? We just put u. So what will be the answer? This is equal to minus, already exist in the question. So here 1 divided by, where is t? Here 2 plus we have t. So that is why we put here 2 plus u. 2 plus u. If you see here 1 divided by minus 2 plus here this 1 plus 3x square, it is u. It is basically u dot derivative of u with respect to x. So what is derivative of 3x square? It is 6x. So after this here, after this we have one step more. Then after we get the solution. What is the step? Now here we have minus 1 divided by, what is this? 2 plus 1. How much? In the denominator we have 2 plus 1. So it is equal to 3. Plus we have 3x square. We have here 3x square. Zarab here 6x. Because derivative of 1 plus 3x square, it is equal to 6x. So if we take 3 as a common, 3 as a mushtarak in the denominator, what this will become? This is equal to minus 1, 3 as a common, 3 as a mushtarak. What will happen? 1 plus x square in the denominator. And here we have 6x on the product. So whenever this 3 divides 6, what will be the resultant? It is equal to 2. It will be 2. It will be 2. So that is why minus 1 zarab 2, it is equal to minus 2. And this x, here this x also mojud. So that is why minus 2x. This minus on the top and also 2x. What is the denominator? It is equal to 1 plus x square. 1 plus x square. Okay, you understand, students? Did you understand? Should I repeat again? Did you understand or should I repeat again? student. Okay, okay, I repeat again. So here if you see, we have d over dx, we have here d over dx integral 1 plus 3x square to 4. Upper limit is 4, lower limit is 1 plus 3x square. Lower limit is 1 plus 3x square. And function is 1 plus 2, 1 divided by 2 plus t dt. We have this function 1 divided by 2 plus t dt. So whenever we change the limit, lower limit to the upper limit to the lower limit, we get a negative sign outside. We get a negative sign outside. We get a negative sign outside. So that is why here you can see this negative sign outside. After that, when we take derivative, a negative sign will goes outside. We will take the derivative of the this integral. So here after that we take u as equal to, we take u as equal to here u as equal to 1 plus 3x square. U is equal to 1 plus 3x square. We have the following: u is equal to 1 plus 3x square. Okay. So what is derivative of this? Du over dx, du over dx, it is equal to 6x. It is equal to 6x. We have the following. Okay. So we have du over dx, it is equal to 6x. So if we change this integral into this way, so this will be d over du minus outside. Minus is already. So d over du, here integral 4, here u, here we have u, here 1 over 2 plus t, 1 over 2 plus t dt. We have the following. Okay, this, and in the cross, in the product, in the zarab, we have du over dx. Okay, so the answer of the first, this is equal to, here this is equal to minus 1 over 2 plus u, minus 1 over 2 plus u. And what is the product answer? It is equal to 6x. So what is u? After that, if you can see here, u is equal to 1 plus 3x square. So whenever we uh, evaluate this, so this will becomes minus 1, because 2 plus 1 is, it is equal to 3. So minus 1 divided by 3 plus 3x square, and the derivative of u with respect to x, it is 6x. So in the numerator we have 6x. So we have the following expression. You can see, that is why we have here minus 1 divided by 2 plus 1 plus 3x square dot derivative of 1 plus 3x square. Okay. After this we take 3 as a common. So 3 will divide 6. So we get the following answer: minus 2 divided by 1 plus x square. So these are some questions. The following are some questions regarding fundamental theorem of calculus 1. So if we have fundamental theorem of calculus 2, now we discuss fundamental theorem of calculus 2. So here the statement of fundamental theorem of calculus 2 is the following. This theorem states that if f is continuous over the interval ab, if f is continuous over the interval ab, okay, we say that the function is continuous over the interval ab. And if you observe, for the definite integral, the condition of the continuity of the function is necessary. And also if you observe the fundamental theorem of calculus 1, the condition of continuity is also there. It is necessary condition. And also for fundamental theorem of calculus 2, the continuity is necessary here also. So we have a function, it is continuous on the closed interval AB, and f has any antiderivative of f on AB, then f capital is any antiderivative of f on the closed interval AB, then the definite integral from a to b f of x dx, it is equal to f of b, f capital of b. It means we will take the antiderivative, we shall put in the antiderivative upper limit first, minus lower limit then. Okay, so f of b minus f of a. This is the fundamental theorem of calculus 2. So if we comparison between these two theorems, what is the answer of fundamental theorem of calculus 1? It is the function. The resultant must be some function. I repeat again, the result of fundamental theorem of calculus 1 must be some function, but the result of fundamental theorem of calculus 2, it must be some constant. It must be some constant because f of b will be some constant and f of a will also be some constant. Now I give an example of this theorem 2. So if you see, we have, okay, good. So if you see, we have the following example. Uh, Definite integral from 0 to pi cosine x dx. So if we see, we have this function cosine x. So this, if we see, this function is continuous on the closed interval 0 to pi. This function is continuous on the closed interval 0 to pi. This function is continuous. Now what is antiderivative of cosine x? What is antiderivative of cosine x? Yes, any student. Antiderivative of cosine x. Yes, it is sin x. Yes, Ahmad. Allah, it is not minus. It is not derivative, Sultan. It is just sin x. It is sin x. Because if we have derivative of cosine is minus, but antiderivative of cosine x, it is positive sign. So I am asking antiderivative of cosine. So it is positive sin x. So now what is the antiderivative? Sin x. So first we put upper limit. So what is upper limit? It is pi. So that is why sin pi minus sin 0. What is sin pi? Sin pi is equal to 0. Sin 0 is also 0. Okay. So sin pi is 0 and also sin 0 is 0. So that is why 0 minus 0, the answer is equal to 0. Okay. So we are taking here the function cosine x. It is continuous over the interval 0 to pi. And antiderivative of this function is sin x. So first we put upper limit, which is equal to pi. So sin pi is equal to 0 minus sin pi is also 0. So that is why 0 minus 0 is 0. Now I give the another example. We have here minus pi by 4 to 0. The interval is minus pi by 4, this interval, minus pi by 4 to 0. This is the interval, minus pi by 4 to 0. And what is the function? Function is sec x tan x. Sec x tan x. We have the following function, sec x tan x. So what is antiderivative of this function? What is antiderivative of sec x tan x? Yes, Ahmad Al Harsi. What is antiderivative of sec x tan x? Yes, we have studied in 4.7, antiderivative of sec x tan x. It is equal to sec x, because if we take the derivative of sec x, derivative of sec x, it is equal to sec x tan x. It is equal to sec x tan x. So that is why here this will become the following expression: sec x upper limit is 0, lower limit is minus pi by 4, minus pi by 4. So whenever we put upper limit, this is sec 0, this is sec minus pi by 4. Now how can we say that sec 0 is equal to 0? Sorry, sec 0 is equal to 1. How can we say that sec 0 is equal to 1? And how can we say that this, it means sec minus pi by 4 is equal to square root 2? We have the following, because sec 0, if we see sec 0, it is equal to 1 over cosine 0, 1 divided by cosine 0. So what is the cosine 0? Yes, any student, cosine 0. What is the value of cosine at 0? Student, are you here? Yes, my question is, what is the value of cosine at 0? It is equal to 1. Yes, it is equal to 1. So that is why 1 divided by 1, it is also 1. So that is why we are putting here, you can see, that is why we are putting here 1. That is why we are putting here 1. Now here, if we have sec minus pi by 4, so here I write minus pi by 4, minus pi by 4, it is equal to what? It is equal to 1 over cosine, 1 over cosine minus pi by 4, 1 over cosine minus pi by 4. So previously in calculus 1, you have studied even function and odd function. Sec function is even or cosine function is even or odd? Student, you have studied before even function and odd function. What about cosine function? It is even or odd function? Cosine function is even function. And what is the property of even function? Yes, it is even function. What is the property of even function? If we have negative inside angle, they observe, they take it. Okay, so this will become, this is equal to 1 over cosine pi by 4, negative class, 1 over cosine pi by 4. So what is the value of cosine pi by 4? It is equal to 1, it is already mojud, divided by 1 over square root, 1 divided by square root 2, 1 divided by square root 2. So if we have this, so this is equal to square root 2. This is equal to square root 2, jazar 2 or square root 2. So that is why we are writing, you can see here, we are writing here square root 2. That is why our answer is 1 minus square root 2. Okay, you got my point? You got my point? Okay. Okay, that is why we say that it is 1 minus square root 2. In the next, see, we have a function, we have integral from 1 to 4. Upper limit is 4, lower limit is 1. What is the function? What is the function? 3 divided by 2 square root x. 3 divided by 2 square root x minus 4 divided by x square, minus 4 divided by x square. So here, what is the value of the square root? It is equal to 1 by 2 square root. It means if we have this square root, it is equal to x power, it is equal to x power 1 over 2. So if we add 1 over 2 plus 1, how much? Student, if we have half plus 1, 1 over 2 plus 1, how much? How much it is? 1 over 2 plus 1. How much it is? Yes, 1.5. This is equal to 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 2. 1.5 or 3 divided by 2. So, whenever we take the antiderivative, so what is antiderivative of x power 1 over 2? We increase 1 in the power, divide the whole power. So, 3 over 2, x power 3 over 2 divided by 3 over 2. So, 3 over 2 will be cancelled with 3 over 2. What will the remain? X power 3 over 2. What will be the remain? X power 3 over 2. And we have here, if you see the second part, we have here the following 4 over here 4 over x square. We write in this way 4 zarab x power minus 2, because whenever we shift from denominator to numerator, power will be negative. If it is positive, it will become negative. So what is antiderivative of x power minus 2? It will becomes x power minus 1 divided by minus 1. Okay, so this will becomes x power antiderivative of this minus 1 divided by minus 1. So this, that is why it will becomes minus 4 over x, because whenever from numerator to denominator we shift, it will becomes positive 4 over x, 4 divided by x. So that is why we can write, you can see here, we can write here 4 divided by x. It is antiderivative of 4x power minus 2. It is antiderivative of 4. It is antiderivative of 4x power minus 2. So first we put upper limit. What is upper limit? Upper limit is equal to 4. You see here, I am put here upper limit. So here 4 power 3 over 2 plus 4 divided by 4. So upper limit in the second part minus lower limit in the first part plus lower limit in the second part. So here 4 power 3 over 2, it is equal to 8. 4 power 3 by 2, it is equal to 8. Plus 4 divided by 4, it is equal to 1. Plus 4 divided by 4, it is equal to 1. It is equal to 1. Minus 1 power 3 over 2, it is equal to 1. And 4 divided by 1, it is equal to 5. So that is why 9 minus 5, it is 4. It is 4. Now we move to the exercise. Then we shall study net change theorem. We move to the exercise. We solve some question regarding fundamental theorem of calculus 1 and fundamental theorem of calculus 2. So if we see, yes, suppose we have the following question number 1. Here we have the following. If you see, what is the upper limit for this case? Student, are you here? What is the upper limit for question number 1? It is equal to, what is lower limit? 0. What is f of x? What is f of x? Yes, and what is f of x for this case? Yes, Usama, you are correct. Hadi, it is also x zarab x minus 3. It is x zarab x minus 3. So if we write here, f of x is the following. It is x zarab x. So this x zarab x, x square minus 3x. Minus 3x. Now what is antiderivative of x square? What is antiderivative of x square? No, not derivative. I am asking about antiderivative. We increase 1 in the power, divide the whole power. Increase x power 3 divided by 3. Yes, correct, Ahmad Alasi. So antiderivative of 3x. What is antiderivative of x? Suppose, what is antiderivative of x? X square divided by 2. So that is why Here, antiderivative of this, I write here. This antiderivative of this x power 3 divided by 3. What minus? What is antiderivative of this? It is 3x square divided by 2. Divided by 2. Okay, x power 3 divided by 3 minus 3x square divided by 2. So we have following antiderivative. So first we put upper limit. So whenever we put upper limit here, what is upper limit? 2. So what will become? This will becomes 2 power 3, 2 power 3 divided by 3. So what is 2 power 3 divided by 3? Minus 3 over 2 here. Zarab 2 power 2. This is upper limit. Minus what is lower limit? We have 0. 0 power something. The answer is 0. So this is 0. 0 power something. The answer is 0. So what is 2 power 3? Ahmad Al Harsi. What is 2 power 3? 2 power 3. 2, 8. So that is why it is 8 divided by 3 minus yes, 8 divided by 3 minus what is 2 power 2? 2 power 2, 4. So this is equal to basically 4. So 4 divided by 2, what will be the remaining? It will becomes 2. So 3 is of 2, how much? 3 is of 2, it is equal to 6. Yes. So 8 divided by 3 minus 6. 8 divided by 3 minus 6. 8 divided by 3 minus 6. Okay. So the answer of this 8 divided by 3 minus 6. So now if you have to solve, okay. So now solve question number 9. Suppose what is we have here, what is antiderivative of 6 square? First 9. For the 9, what is upper limit? Student, what is upper limit? Pi by 3. Pi by 3 has mean 60. Pi by 3. Pi by 3 upper limit. What is lower limit? 0. What is antiderivative of 6 square? What is antiderivative? In the first class, I asked you, what is antiderivative of 6 square? Tan x. What is antiderivative of 6 square? It is equal to tan, not sine. Sultan, it is tan x. Because whenever we take derivative of tan x, what is the derivative of tan x? 6 square x. Then antiderivative of 6 square x, it is equal to tan x. It is equal to tan x. That is why we have here tan x. That is why here tan x. So we have here antiderivative of this 2 tan x. This is equal to 2 tan x. Okay. So upper limit. First we will put upper limit, then we will put lower limit. So what is upper limit? Upper limit is pi by 4. Pi by 4. Sorry, pi by 3. Lower limit is 0. So what is sine 0? Sorry, tan 0. Tan 0 is 0. Because tan 0, yes, tan 0 is 0. Now what is tan pi by 3? Tan pi by 3. It is equal to sine pi by 3 over cosine pi by 3, which is equal to 1. Tan pi by 3 is equal to tan pi by 3. Tan pi by 3, pi by 3 here. It is equal to 1. It is equal to how much? It is equal to 1. So 1 zarab 2. How much? 2 and 2. 2 zarab 1. It is equal to 2. So the answer, the final answer of question number 9 will be 2. The final answer of question number 9 will be 2. Okay, you got my point? Okay, this is fundamental theorem of calculus 2. Now we solve some question fundamental theorem of calculus 1. So if we have the following function, yes, what is upper limit? Abdul Hadi, for this case, what is upper limit? What is upper limit? Upper limit is equal to sin x. What is lower limit? It is equal to 1. So if whenever we have upper limit is function of sin x, function of x, it means sin x is basically function of x. What we suppose? What we suppose here? We suppose u is equal to sin x. U is equal to, sorry, u is equal to sin x. We have the following: u is equal to sin x. Now what is derivative of sin x? What will be the derivative of sin x? Cosine x. Derivative of sin, it is equal to d over dx of sin x, it is equal to cosine x, this one. Derivative of sin d over dx of sin x is equal to cosine x. Now how can we solve this? We solve in this way. Here you see, so this will be equal to, here, d over du, okay, here 1, here u, what is here, 3t square, here dt. After that we have here d du over dx, which is equal to cosine x, du over dx. So the resultant of this, d over du, what is the resultant of this? The resultant of this, it is equal to, here 3 u square, it is equal to 3 u square. We have the resultant of this is equal to 3 u square zarab cosine x, because du over dx is equal to cosine x. So what is 3 u square? What is u? U is equal to sin x. So what will be the answer? The final answer will become the following. I write here 3 sin square x, sin power 2x, cosine x. Okay, we have the following: 3 sin square x, cosine x, 3 sin square x, cosine x. Okay, 3 sin square x, cosine x. This is the answer of the question. Okay, 3 sin square x, cosine x. Okay, 3 sin square x, cosine x. Now we move to the back, net change theorem. We study net change theorem. Here we have here net change theorem. So net change theorem is basically similar to the fundamental theorem of calculus 2. Net change theorem is similar to the fundamental theorem of calculus 2. What it is? It is the net change in a differentiable function f of x over an interval, This is the interval a to, here a to b, x is between a and b. So it means, what is the meaning of this? The same like the previous a b close interval. What is the meaning of this? The closed interval from a to b is the integral of its rate of change. What does it mean? Previously here we have small function. Here we have derivative of capital F of x. So this is the difference. It means this function will be the derivative. This function. Suppose we have here velocity, because velocity is, if we have given velocity is the rate of change of displacement. Okay, we have given here acceleration, because acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. So it means there will be some this type of the function which are derivative, which are in terms of the derivative. So I again repeat, the net change in a differentiable function f of x over an interval a to b is the integral of its rate of change. Is the integral of its rate of change. Is the integral of its rate of change. So is the integral. What does it mean? F of b minus f of a. F of b minus f of a is equal to integral from a to b f dash of x dx. F dash of x dx. Okay, you got my point. So here if you see, we have the following example. It is not included in the syllabus, but as we have given this theorem, net change theorem, so we must have to understand this. So no need for the, it means like for the exam, because it is not given in the syllabus. What it is, it says that if we have a function, here you can see v of t, and the velocity at initial point is given, velocity at the second point is given, what will be the answer? It means the displacement at t2 minus displacement at t1. It means the movement of object from second point minus movement of the object at one point. So if we see, we have the following example. You see here we have the following. We have given a function, velocity function. This is velocity function v of t. It is equal to 160 minus 32 t feet per second. This is the velocity. Okay, this velocity will be given. What is the question? Find the displacement of the rock during the time period. It means at this, so we have to find s of t minus s of 0, s of t minus s of 0. So this is the position of the motion at time t is equal to 0, at t is equal to 0, at t is equal to 8. So first of all we find the we have here velocity. Velocity is basically rate of change of displacement, a rate of change of position of the particle motion. Okay, so what is the now, what is the v of t? It is equal to 160 minus 32 t, 160 minus 32 t, 160 minus 32 t dt. So what is derivative of 16, what is antiderivative of 160? Student, what is antiderivative of 160? What is antiderivative of antiderivative? What is antiderivative? Not constant. It is not a constant. So what is antiderivative of 160? It is equal to 160 of t. Yes, this you can see. It is not derivative. 160 into t. This is antiderivative. So what is antiderivative of 32t? So we increase 1 in the power, divide the whole power. So that is why it is equal to 32. It is equal to 32 t square divided by, yes, divided by 2. So this 2 cancel this. So we get here 16 t square. We get here 16 t square, 16 t square. So what is upper limit for this case? Upper limit is time period at 8. What is lower limit? It is equal to 0. Time period at 0. So whenever we put upper limit, 160 zarab 8 minus 16 zarab t 8 square. What is 8 square? It is equal to 64. So this is the answer. This is the answer, which is equal to 256. 256. This is the answer. Okay. So if I change, okay, I again repeat. We have here, suppose a rock, we have the velocity of the rock at any time t during its motion was this. We have this velocity of the rock. We have a rock is moving from one point to the other. The velocity of the rock at time t is during its motion was given by v of t. It is equal to 160 minus 32. 160 minus 32 feet per second minus 160 minus 32 t feet per second. Okay, what is the question? Question is question is find here. What is the question? Find the displacement of the rock during the time period 0 is less than equal to t is less than equal to 8. It means t is between 0 and 8. The next is find the total distance traveled during its this time period. So first we find the displacement. So what is displacement basically? Displacement is the rate of change of, sorry, the integral of velocity. It is called displacement, because the rate of change, the derivative of displacement is velocity. It is given here. So that is why we take the integral value of the velocity, integral of velocity here from 0 to 8. So the displacement is the integral of velocity from 0 to 8, is the velocity to 8. Now here it is equal to 0 to 8, 0 to 8, 160 minus 32 t dt, minus 32 t dt. So here what is antiderivative of 160? What is antiderivative of 160? It is equal to 160 t. What is antiderivative of 32? It is equal to 16. Yes, it is equal to 32 t square divided by 2. So 32, no, 32 t square divided by 2. It is 32, not 16. Okay, it is equal to 32. I write here. It is equal to 32 t square, yes, divided by 2. We have the following. So whenever 2 divide 32, what will be the answer? It will become 16 t square, t square, 16 t square. Okay. So first we put upper limit. What is upper limit? What is upper limit? Upper limit is 8. What is lower limit? 0. So whenever we put upper limit 160 zarab 8 minus 160 zarab 64. So the n2 we have minus 0, because for the 0 we do not we not put, because 0 zarab anything 0. So that is why we get here 256. So this is the displacement. This is the displacement of the rock during this period. Now we find the distance. What is distance? Distance is basically the integral of absolute value of v of t. So integral of absolute value of v of t. It means here velocity where it is positive, velocity where it is negative. Okay. So we have to check where velocity is positive, where velocity is negative. So from here, if you see, we have here v of t. Okay, as we noted in the table, the velocity function v of t is positive over the time interval 0 to yes. So here we have velocity, it is positive. So that is why we put here 160 minus 32 t dt. And where velocity is negative, we put v of t absolute value as minus, because we studied the definition of absolute value. What is definition of absolute value? If we have a absolute, it means positive a, if a is positive, if a is positive, if a is greater than 0. Okay, negative a, if a is less than, if a is less than, it means if a is negative. So if velocity is negative, we put here, that is why we put here minus. You can see here we are putting here negative. Okay, so that is why we are putting here negative. So 160 minus 32t, this velocity is negative from 5 to 8. This velocity is negative from 5 to 8. Now what is the antiderivative? Already we have find out antiderivative of 160, it is equal to 160t. Antiderivative of 32t, it is 16t square minus the same like that. So whenever we put upper limit minus lower limit, so we get here 544. This is basically the distance traveled during the time period. This is basically the distance traveled the time period. So this is our 2-day lecture. This is our 2-day lecture. Okay. Yes. Okay. I revise the whole lecture, 2-day lecture, in 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Then if you have any question, you can ask. If you have any question, you can ask the question, no problem. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask the question. Amal Al Harsi and Osama Al Salmi, do you have any question? Okay, now I revise today lecture. Today, first of all, we have discussed mean value theorem. What is mean value theorem? If we have a function, it is continuous over the closed interval AB. We have a function, it is continuous over the closed interval AB. Okay, then there exists some, then there exists some C in AB, then there exists C in AB such that f of C is equal to, here I just, we start from here. F of C is equal to 1 over B minus A, uh, definite integral from A to B f of x dx. Okay, this is called mean value theorem. After that, we have studied fundamental theorem of calculus 1. What it is? It is if f is continuous over the interval AB, then f of x, f capital F of x, it is equal to integral from A to x f of t dt. It is continuous on the closed interval AB, and it is differentiable on open interval, and its derivative is f of x. How can we find it is f of x? by using this formula. It means f dash of x, it is equal to d over dx integral from a to x f of t dt. It is equal to f of x. It is equal to, because if we have d over dx and upper limit is x, so we have here f of x. Moreover, if we have upper limit is x square, then by the substitution method, we convert into again fundamental theorem of calculus 1. After that, we have studied some examples, and then we have studied fundamental theorem of calculus 2. Fundamental theorem of calculus 2. What it is? So it states that if we have a function f, it is continuous over the interval ab, and f capital is any antiderivative of f over interval ab. We have this thing. Then the integral of f of x from a to b, it is equal to f of b minus f of a. F of b minus f of a. Okay. So this is fundamental theorem of calculus 2. Okay. After that, we have studied a net change theorem. So following is the net change theorem. The net change in a differentiable function f of x over an interval, okay, a to b, close interval. This is, if you see, this is close interval, is the integral of its rate of change, It means if we have f of b minus f of a is equal to definite integral from a to b f of x, f capital f of x and its derivative dx. So this is our today lecture. Now if you have any question, you can ask to me. Yes, and moreover, the exam will be in the 7th week. First exam will be in the 7th week. Okay. Okay, I make the attendance. Just wait few minutes, 1 minute or 2 minutes, then we finish. Yes, 7th weeks will be the exam week. Okay, 7th week will be the first exam. How many chapter? Chapter 4 already we have done, just one chapter. This chapter 5 and chapter 7.2, two topics from chapter 7, two topics from chapter 7. Okay, so it will be, the exam will be on the 7th week from the start. It means from 1st of the September onward, in the 7th week there will be the exam. Yes, so do you have any question? Okay, thank you so much for your time. So inshallah see you in the next class. Thank you so much.